Welcome back. All right, so we've got a chart on the board here, and I need to go through it. So, what I've got teams arranged in sort of a reverse order. So, goals saved above expected. If your team's doing well, they're in this corner. That's the Vegas jersey. If your team's doing less well, they're here. This is arranged by 5-on-5. Now, the goaltenders themselves, it's in all situations. So, maybe they have a bad number 5-on-5, but they've got a good number as a penalty killing goaltender, power play, all that. And vice versa. Maybe they're not as good at 5-on-5, but they're really, really good on the penalty kill. But I wanted to arrange this in such a manner so that if you believe that your goaltending hasn't been great, maybe this will make you say, yeah, nope, the goaltending for my team hasn't been great, or vice versa. We think we're doing really well. Yep, goaltending apparently pretty good. So Calgary, yeah, they end up having the lowest ranking on this. Again, it's 5-on-5. It's goals saved above expected, meaning more goals are going in than expected. It's not a perfect stat. I got these numbers from moneypuck.com. Again, there is no perfect stat to measure goaltenders. One thing I've learned over the years is you really can't say anything negative about a goaltender in the National Hockey League. Immediately, there will be a lot of people coming to the defense of that goaltender, and it doesn't matter which goaltender it is. Generally, people will just defend that goaltender. So, on the Calgary front, the good news is, in black are the goaltenders who have a positive difference when it comes to the goals saved above expected, and Markstrom's played well. 0.6 goals saved above expected. The team, so this number here is the goals scored. So the goals for above expected, and in this case with Calgary, it's a negative 3.34. Now, their other two goaltenders, Wolf, negative 1.1. It's just the one start, though, so really limited sample size. But Vladar, negative 4.9. So if you're looking at the Flames and saying, you know what, I think Wolf and Markstrom as the tandem might be a better option, the numbers would tell you you might have a point. And maybe that's where they lean at some stage. So again, all this is arranged by 5-on-5 with where I have the teams. The goaltenders are in all situations. We good? Good. For Edmonton, so both teams in Alberta getting negative results here. What really stands out with Edmonton is the negative 10.4 when it comes to goals for above expected, meaning they should start scoring more goals if they keep playing the way they have been, which sounds like, basically that old phrase of, try again, and if at first you don't succeed, all that. Or, the whole other idea of, the definition of failure is repeating the same mistakes. Anyways, Campbell has a negative 3.8 when it comes to goals saved above expected, and Skinner negative 7.8. So while Campbell takes a lot of the blame and he gets sent down to the AHL and he gets ridiculed into the ground, mostly for his contract, Skinner has not been fantastic either. The negative 10.24 in terms of goals scored, it's just all around been a nightmare for the Oilers. On the Minnesota front, both goaltenders putting up ugly numbers so far. I wouldn't think that Fleury's numbers were helped by last night. He's now at a negative 5.9. Gustafsson a negative 7.3. The team is also scoring more goals than expected at plus 6.57. So 6.57. So this gets kind of tricky if you're Minnesota because you're not getting the saves and you're getting extra goals. If those goals start to dry up at all, and if the goaltending doesn't get better, things could potentially get worse. For Tampa Bay, they're scoring 4.03 more goals than expected. I think part of it is that they know they don't have Vasilevsky in net. Now, Johansson's negative 0.8 tells you he's not going to be in the Vezina running this year or anything, and definitely not in any danger of replacing Vasilevsky. But his numbers aren't that bad either. Again, when you look at some of the other ones on the board, his numbers have been okay. And Tompkins, negative 1.7, I would say the same with Tompkins. That for two goaltenders that not much was expected of, they've done all right. They've done okay. Then you get to Colorado, and this is where things are interesting as well, because Prosvetov has a positive 2.1, Georgiev a negative 2.3. Easy for me to say. So if you're of the belief that Prosvetov's outplayed Georgiev, the advanced stats say yes. Also, they're not scoring goals at the expected rate. They're scoring goals at a negative 6.52 so far this season. So, again, if they start getting the goals that are expected, they'll have some more wins to their name. For New Jersey, there's a difference here too. Schmid, 0.1 in the positive when it comes to goals saved above expected. Vanacek, a negative 3.6. So Schmid has outplayed Vanacek according to the advanced stats. And New Jersey's goal scoring is below where it's expected to be as well by a score of negative 6.53. So they're almost right in line with Colorado. Two teams seen as contenders before the season started, having their own issues. Philadelphia, not really surprised to see Philadelphia in that first column. Hart, a negative 0.3. Peterson, a negative 0.9. And Ersson, a rough start for him, negative 5.3. They're also scoring more than expected by 4.48. Then you get to LA, they're scoring more than expected at 6.21 currently in the positive. Talbot has outplayed Copley by a lot. He has saved 6.3 goals above expected. I knew, because it's a lot of words here. Copley, negative 5.9. So a huge difference between Talbot and Copley. Talbot is absolutely the starter there. San Jose, not really a surprise that Blackwood's first at a 0.4 in the positive. What's a bit of a surprise is he's close to the others. Corona, who only got the one game, negative 1.7. Kakinen, negative 2.1. Considering how many goals they've allowed, that's kind of a minor miracle. And they're not scoring either. Negative 13.45 when it comes to goals for above expected. So they've scored almost 13 and a half less goals than expected, considering the chances they've had and everything. So San Jose scoring should get better, right? Because negative 13, that's what, about a goal per game? That's a lot. Buffalo, Levi, positive 1.7. Comrie, positive 1.5. Luukkonen, a negative 2.4. But I'm going to say this, Luukkonen, not bad for them over the last week. They're also scoring more than expected, 3.84 in the positive there. And then you've got Columbus, you got Martin, 1 in the positive. Now, I'm glad to see Spencer Martin have the bounce back. I don't know if he would have done that in Vancouver. Maybe he would have. I'm still fine with him ending up in Columbus. Vancouver ends up with the Smith. And Martin's outplayed Merzlikins, though Merzlikins is at 0.0. So Merzlikins has had a bounce back season already. Last year he had the ugliest numbers. Him and Martin both had the ugliest numbers. So the fact that they're a net positive between the two goaltenders, bit of a surprise. They're scoring a little bit above expected at plus 0.51. So again, Columbus right around where would be expected with their play. Doesn't reveal them to be lucky or unlucky. They're where they are. Ottawa. So Korpisalo, negative 0.3 in all situations. Forsberg, a negative 5.1. So Korpisalo, the better, the two goalies there. They're also scoring a lot more than expected, 13.1. So that's the highest number on the board. And again, when you're scoring that much more than expected, it is expected that then that'll drop at least a little bit. It is hard to maintain that kind of a number. Nashville, real surprise when it comes to Nashville, and it's something I was thinking of the other night. So the advanced stats bear it out. Lankinen, negative 0.3. Saros, negative 6.2 so far this season. Saros is one of the best goalies in the league. I'm not sure what's going on there, but yeah, he is not playing like UC Saros right now. And then goals scored, negative 5.3 for Nashville. So a lot of red flags there for Nashville. Obviously, there's always is Saros going to get traded conversation. If Saros continues to play as he has, I don't know. Do you end up trading him? Obviously, Edmonton would be the most likely destination, and maybe they would take back Campbell's contract if you throw in a sweetener, but it would have to be one heck of a sweetener for Nashville, wouldn't it? Detroit, there's a difference in Detroit as well. Reimer with a positive 1.8, Husso with a negative 4.2, and when it comes to goal scoring, Detroit in the positive, plus 10.73 goals scored above expected. So Husso has been getting outplayed by Reimer, not a surprise to anybody who's watched Detroit, and they're right around the middle of the league on this board, right? We're into that 14th slot. And then you've got Seattle. Now, Seattle's scoring less than expected, negative 5.44. Decord, a negative 0.7 in terms of goals saved above expected, so not bad. I'm surprised Grubauer's a negative at negative 1.7. I think Grubauer's played well for Seattle, and negative 1.7 over the amount of games that have been played so far isn't terrible. Again, Grubauer's been towards the bottom of the chart the last few years, the last couple years in Seattle. I know he's been towards the bottom a lot. And again, that's where the people will defend the goaltender part comes out. Because if you point that out, people say, hey, no problem with Grubauer, it's the defense in front of him. But yeah, Decord so far has a little bit of a better number, keeping in mind Grubauer's played more games. Chicago, good goaltending. Not much else to say. Chicago's had good goaltending. Mrazek, in all situations, plus 3.5. Soderblom, plus 1.4. As a team, they're scoring a little bit above expected, plus 0.46. But with Bedard, you're just going to have to change what's expected because, that kid can score. Dallas, I'm surprised Dallas is as low as they are. But Ottinger, 6.2 goals saved above expected. Wedgwood, just 0.1. And their penalty kill's been fantastic as well. So I'm surprised they're middle of the pack. They're scoring a little bit less than expected at negative 0.43. Nothing that's hurting the team. For Dallas, right beneath them there, Washington. Washington's had good goaltending. Charlie Lindgren's put on a show. 4.9 goals saved above expected. And Shepherd, good on him. 0.6 in the positive. Kemper, who had a strong start, has been rougher lately. He's at a 0.5. Again, all three in the positive, though. They're also scoring less than expected, negative 6.83. Those are all OV goals, I think. But at any rate, we'll see if the Capitals get their goal scoring up, but they definitely seem to be turning things around. Winnipeg, Hellebuck, a negative 1.4. Mild surprise there, although I don't think Hellebuck's playing at the top of his game right now. Brossoit, negative 3.0. The team's scoring more than expected, plus 4.19 in that category. And then you get into Toronto. Big difference between the starter and the backup here, although it's a 1A, 1B situation. Wall, 2.9 goals saved above expected. Samsonov has a negative 3.1. They're scoring a little bit more than expected at plus 0.27. It's really not much. So for Toronto, they want Samsonov's numbers to get better. He had a really good start against Vancouver. The next game's really good as well. If they have a good time in Sweden, they could come back with both goaltenders in the positive. Carolina, not getting the goaltending they might have expected either. Anderson, who of course is out right now, negative 0.5. Kochetkov, negative 2.4, although that number would have gotten better after that shutout against Tampa Bay. I don't know what the number was before that game, but it would have been worse. Ronta, negative 3.4. They're scoring a little bit less than expected, negative 0.79. Florida, Bobrovsky's in the positive at 0.4. Stolarz is in the negative at negative 0.3. But again, they're right around where expected. And their goal scoring is right around where expected, too. It's a negative 1.82 in Florida. Just keep doing you, Florida. You're in good shape. Arizona. Arizona's doing well, too. Ingram is in the positive, 1.4. Vejmelka, an even, 0.0. So Ingram's mildly outplayed Vejmelka, according to this stat. And they're scoring a little bit more than expected at 0.07. So when you look at Arizona's record, is it sustainable? Yes. The Rangers, great goaltending from Quick. Who saw that coming? Now, Jonathan Quick's been in the positive in this number before, right? Like last year was a rough year for him, but the previous season, he had a good run. Currently has a plus 5.7. That's a very good number. Shesterkin, a plus 3.6. And Louis Domingue, good on Louis Domingue, a plus 1.4 with his call-up. As a team, they're scoring a negative 0.58 when it comes to goals for per game, which is terrifying if you're the East, because this team is already 11-2-1, and they're a little bit below the goals for expected. That's crazy. Then you get to Pittsburgh. Jari, 3.5, so that's a good number. Hellberg, 1.9. I think he's outplayed Nedeljkovic, and according to the advanced stats, that could be the case. Negative 0.7 for Nedeljkovic, who's working his way back from injury. They're scoring a little bit more than expected at 2.02. The Islanders, this is maybe the biggest surprise on the board outside of Saros. Varlamov, 6.3, fantastic run to start the year. He's got them some wins himself. Sorokin, a negative 1.1. I don't know that I've ever seen Sorokin with a negative number. That's not going to stay that way. They're also scoring less than expected, negative 8.25, which tells you the shooting percentage is low. Their luck is really low as well. So if you feel like that as an Islanders fan, you are correct. Anaheim, they're getting saves this year. They're also not allowing the same amount of shots. Who knew that would help? Gibson, 4.6. Very good number there. Dostal with a 2.7. We haven't heard anything about Gibson wanting a trade. I think if this team stays in the hunt, if they stay good, there's no reason for them to ask for a trade, really. Goals for, they're also in the negative there. Negative 3.09, meaning they should be scoring more goals. This is a great time to be a Ducks fan right now. Things are looking up. Montreal. Things are actually pretty good for Montreal here, too. So, Allen, 1.9. goals saved above expected. Montembeault also a 1.9. Caden Primo a negative 0.4, which is still, I believe, way better than last season. They're scoring a little bit less than expected, negative 4.77. So again, the idea being that the teams that are in the really big negatives, like Edmonton there with negative 10.24, the goal scoring should improve, right? So that's good news for Montreal. Maybe they do stay in the hunt. St. Louis, Bennington, 6.7. If Bennington's in the negative, St. Louis fans will be unhappy. Right now they'll be happy because he's in the positive, 6.7. And I mean unhappy not with Bennington, but with the number itself. Like, no, that number's wrong. But when it's a good number, that number's right. Go Bennington. So Hofer has a 2.2. Their goaltending's been very good. And their goal scoring has gotten better. They're at negative 0.48 when it comes to goals for above expected. So they're a little bit below the waterline, but it's definitely gotten better. Scoring 8 goals against Colorado will do that. Vancouver, who had a ridiculous PDO, which is adding shooting percentage and save percentage, their number was way too high. It's just, again, that's why I kept saying not sustainable. And Demko has saved 12 goals above expected. That's craziness. DeSmith, 2.7. So it doesn't matter who's in the net. They're getting very good numbers. And they're scoring 12.23 goals above what's expected of them. So Vancouver, really, really high number, up there with Ottawa. Both teams getting a lot of goals above what would be expected in those situations. So if the goaltending stays good, great. If the goal scoring stays fantastic in Vancouver, great. Either way, they're getting both. Boston, Swayman, 9.1 goals saved above expected. Ullmark, a little bit low from last year, 3.1, but we knew Ullmark wasn't going to follow it up with another 940 save percentage this year. And Boston, mildly above goals for above expected at 1.1. So Boston playing right around where expected, and their goaltending stealing them games, which we had a feeling might happen. And then you've got Vegas, Adin Hill, 9.3. So Adin Hill over the summer, I didn't include him in the top 10 goaltenders in the NHL for a simple reason. He'd never been a starter in the NHL. Yes, he won the Stanley Cup in 2023, but we've seen goaltenders go on playoff runs that the following season, they aren't necessarily as good. Hill's been fantastic. And Logan Thompson, good return to health for him, 6.5 in the positive. So both goalies, really good numbers. They're scoring a little bit more than expected, 3.93. But if your question is, can Vegas sustain this? They'll go as far as their goaltending will take them. Their record this year very much in line with what they had last year. And yeah, there's some other interesting numbers I just wanted to throw in here before we go. The number one team in shooting percentage in the league is Vancouver, 12.83%. Again, that's high. I don't know how much it'll come down by, but it'll come down a little bit because San Jose's 32nd. Theirs is way too low at 3.81%. They at least have to get to 5 or 6, right? Six might be the dream this year for San Jose. Then you get into save percentage. Boston leads there, 94.94%. And the Flames are last in that category, 88.37%. Those are 5-on-5 numbers. So in this case, I went with the 5-on-5 numbers for shooting percentage and save percentage, just to give you an idea of how teams are doing at even strength. And which one's really lucky and which one's really not lucky. And in this case, or, really, really good or really, really not good. So, yeah, I'm mildly surprised the Sharks aren't at the bottom of both categories, but here we are. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I do like to do these advanced stats videos here and there because I think it's good to have this as part of the conversation when it comes to looking at, especially for me, it's especially with goaltenders. It can give you a good idea of who's really off to that good start and who maybe isn't, and which ones are likely to even out as the season goes along. So let me know your thoughts. Which goalie do you think is going to turn it around, and which one do you think is just overachieving right now? Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, because it hurts my feelings when you don't. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.